going on, everybody? Welcome back to Bardown Breakdown. You've got me and Mikey here with two of our homies from the morning of. We've got Abir, we've got Justin. Gentlemen and friends, thank you for being with us. And how are you on this wonderful evening?
Yeah, thanks for having us. I'm doing very well. Abir, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I could always be better. Like, there's a lot of things that probably are horrible, but yeah, I'm fine.
Do you want
I'm
to
here.
go into that like real quick?
No,
Like,
no,
okay,
no,
cool. I just didn't know how we wanted to start this episode. If we just wanted to like bring in the sads like quick, or if we just wanted to like get
no. Yeah,
get
you don't have to.
gear up
I
to the
can bring it.
sad,
I can bring a room down real fast. So it's not.
dude,
not
dude, look, if I think that in my high school superlatives, I probably would have been voted most likely to bring a room down. I think I was actually voted for either most talented or best singer, like in actuality. And like the funny thing is, like, as far as most talented is concerned, like there's a person who Michael and I graduated with who like literally plays trumpet for Usher now. So suffice to say, if I won over him, then I think we got some work to do. I think I don't know how
A
that
lot of
goes,
mail-in
but
ballots, I think.
what'd you say?
I said a lot of mail-in ballots, I think.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it does go that way, but boy, the morning of has been busy over this past week or two. Might as well let you guys share it yourselves. You guys made a really cool announcement going back just a little bit of time. Why don't you share with the class what's on the horizon for the morning of?
Go ahead, Abir.
uh, we're 2 days ago we announced our first show in 13 years.
13 years. Woo!
Yeah, so we're doing a reunion show in New York City on September 19th
Yeah.
at LPR. And yeah, we're really excited about it. It's going to be a really special time. I think it took a lot of I would say a lot of like uh work to even just get this together. It's I feel like for a long time we've had like people asking us to do it, and we've kind of just been like whatever, like, and then it felt right for us to be like we want like to do this for like our families to see the band and like our kids and our spouses
Yeah.
and like things like that. And then now that we've like kind of like reintroduced the idea, honestly, it's taken a life of its own. And I feel like for me, it's like I love my kids, but it's like it's very not their lives don't revolve around this stuff at all.
Right.
And like they don't care. But it's like for me, it's like very much oh wow, like we need to do this for like people,
So,
which is like really cool.
would you say that you're using this as a litmus test of sorts? Like, are we thinking, hey, based on the success that we have playing the show, we might play some more, or we might all get in a room and maybe work on some new music or something like that? Or is this just kind of really a one-off sort of thing for right now? And is that how you're treating it?
Okay, so I would say one right now to set
Yeah, Abir,
expectations.
what's the answer to this question?
It's a one-off thing. I would
Okay.
say the morning of company line though right now, I think between Justin and I is never say never.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I look at it as well. It's like, I will say Abir's being humble. He's the one that did all of the work when it came to getting this thing confirmed, and especially on the front end of that, like fielding offers and getting the band's interest, and bless him for that. He's put in the most work out of all of us. But I will say, originally the idea was just a one-off show, and I think that's still the plan. But the past week, especially with kicking it back into full gear, chatting with everybody every day, FaceTiming and joking around, it's like we never missed a beat. So I think the potential is stronger now than it's ever been for some stuff in the future.
Sure. Now, to get into the minutia of it a little bit, so LPR, Le Poisson Rouge, as far as its capacity, how many people can we get into that building?
I think it's like around 700 cap. I feel like I've had a lot of like I feel like old like scene friends be like, no, they definitely do 900 back in the day, and I was like, let's not get crazy here, and also let's also not get to the point where like if we want to sell tickets and like feel
Right.
like it did well. kind of thing. I feel like we're definitely aware. Like we came from a scene where I feel like either you played shows for 40 people or a place was like packed out where like there's no way
Yeah.
there should be that many 16-year-olds like in a venue.
I think 700 is a very attainable goal. I really think it is. I think you guys might be surprised that you'll find out that like those 700 tickets are going to go quicker than you think, and then all of a sudden y'all might be scrambling to do a day two. I mean, look, you kind of you think to yourselves, here we were, like we weren't bumping elbows with like Fall Out Boy, right? But also like I remember like going to see you guys, the late, to kind of the late 2000s to 2010, like, and I remember seeing rooms filled with kids, so I think that if you're gonna go after that same audience, right, of like people my age who are, back when they were really super into you guys, they were in their 20s and stuff, you're pressing the nostalgia button real hard, which I think is a great leg up. But also on top of that, right, you got this opportunity to go and get your 2026 audience too, right? So, and today's day and age, that's all in how good you grassroots yourselves, right? Like, are you willing to go that extra mile on TikTok? Are you willing to go that extra mile on Instagram? Like, are you, is that all stuff that you're willing to do? Because, like, I feel like, 2009, 2008, that was like internet was starting to kind of blossom, and I think you had pure volume, I think, at that point, and it might have just been like the beginnings of MySpace. But like, now you're in a whole other stratosphere of streaming and this and that. So it's like, 15 years, which doesn't seem like that tremendous of an amount of time, is like night and day when it comes to like how you got to promote yourselves as artists. So, are you guys prepared for that? Like, are you guys kind of taking that challenge head on? No. Okay. That's fair.
I let's be completely candid. Last night we did a band FaceTime trying to create content for real, and it went absolutely horrible. Like, I mean, it was for us, it was a great time. Like, we had so much fun, like just talking and trying to do it. But like, as far as like the actual content goes, it's like if you do the swipe through on our on sale post on Instagram, it's just Jessica, God bless her soul, she tried her best to do what she could with what we gave her. And she was like, best I can do is like, I took some fun moments and just pizzazzed them a little bit. And then we put the song to it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Jess.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, for me personally, I quit the internet in like 2014,
Wow.
right after my daughter was born. So I mean, I have LinkedIn for work purposes,
Sure.
but other than that, that's the only social media I partake in. So when we started kicking around this idea, I like activated my Instagram, my old Instagram, where I had no followers because
Right.
I never logged in and accepted people who requested to follow me.
Right.
And I've been pinging Abir and the rest of the band who are a little more socially inept or socially
Adequate.
adept,
Right. Yeah.
not inept.
Adept. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm the inept one. I've been asking them kind of like, how do I respond to messages and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm ready to jump into that aspect of it. I think that one of the most fun aspects of it so far for me has been answering the mail and responding to comments on Instagram. Like, that's
And
been a
shout
lot
out
of fun.
to Justin, because he's been doing like the heroes work for our entire band right now in terms of
Yeah, I mean, it's
responding
fun.
to people. We've been getting, I mean, I'll say I didn't expect this at all. I think that's like what the whole crux of this entire conundrum is, like, because we just want to do this show. Like, I wanted my kids to see our band. I wanted my wife to see our. It was like this whole thing was like kind of predicated on like strictly like we need to get together. We need to like do this one more time just for us, so like closure. And then we started this whole thing, like we started a countdown like 2 weeks ago, and I was joking that people were going to be like annoyed by us just like doing like an eyeball emoji at every like question, and then like just posting like weird old grainy photos from like 20 years ago. And it became this whole thing where like my wife would be like, where's this photo from like 15 years ago? These girls are posting like eyeball emojis on it. And I'm like, I don't know. That's like crazy. And like the fans co-opted it. It was like this really cool thing where we're like, oh, like we all speak the same language of like stuff
Yeah.
that we're doing. You guys still really care. Like it honestly was mind blowing because we were never like the biggest band. And like I joke with Just Surrender all the time. Like we weren't even the biggest band in our scene ever. We like our timing never worked out to where it was like it was Matchbook, then it was Just Surrender, and it was us. But we were like Just Surrender and us were like together, and they were always bigger than us. It was like
Right.
we were never like, oh, we're the buzziest band in our area. You know what I mean? So we never had this like thing about like us being like, yeah, it's us. Like, and maybe that like informs our humbleness or whatever, but it never made us like think that people cared as much as maybe they do, you know? And maybe we took stuff for granted because we just you do it for so long. It's like Groundhog Day. And like, you know, it's like beautiful seeing these messages, but when you're 18 to 22, like you want to get to I think someone mentioned like Fall Out Boy, like we would joke about like what we would do just to open a tour for Fall Out Boy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So like so when you talk about that stuff, like yeah, like I know that like for us, like yeah, like we were like as much as we care about the art, we cared about the art, but we were ambitious as well. You know what I mean? Like we wanted like the things, and you know, that's okay that it didn't happen. I think the coolest thing about this is like none of this is about like how big can we be. It's about like holy shit, we have this fan base that cares about us, and that's amazing. You know?
Now, I'm just curious, this is being sold as a 21st anniversary show. Why did you guys skip year 20? Like, why didn't you try to make it for like what
We
most
didn't
bands do?
just I mean, we didn't try to do a show last year. I think literally, and I'll be completely honest, last year, I think the agent that we're working with, he sent me a bunch of offers, and I was like, I just like don't really feel like it's like the right time for the conversation or whatever, you know. And then we just didn't do it, and then it just so happened that like at a certain point, it was like pull the Band-Aid off. Like we're getting so many messages still about this stuff, and it was like, okay, because we kind of like we got surprised by it, like Justin, you're gonna talk about the vinyl release. We got surprised by our vinyls got like our albums got released on vinyl, and we didn't know that was happening. A friend of mine told me, and he was like, "Fuck,
That's a
dude."
great story.
He was like, "I knew you wouldn't know about this."
Which
Right?
which label did it?
So we were signed to Tragic Hero, but the label that did it is Parting Gift, but
Parting
it was
Gift.
licensed.
Yeah. Okay.
to
Yeah.
Parting
Yeah.
Gift,
Yeah.
you know.
But like a beer said, I really want to hammer home on the fact that we had no idea that both of our albums had been licensed by like a record company to produce a vinyl copy. We had no clue that was happening. Zero clue.
So then,
And Abir sent a message into our group chat, said, did anybody know about this? It's like a screenshot.
so
I think our
Um,
first Instagram post on our Instagram is literally
Yeah.
like being like everyone being like, "Fuck, man, we didn't know about this at
well,
all."
so I was gonna say, if you guys didn't know about it, my presumption would be that you guys aren't seeing any of the proceeds from it either. Huh?
Absolutely not. Just
No.
like well, I'm very happy to put that out there, which is fine. If we are able to figure something out where we want to be amicable, to be also clear, I work in the music industry, so I have to be a little bit amicable about these things. And
You can't just go scorched earth on somebody, right? I get it. Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to
and
have
we're
some
also
truth.
appreciative of like I think that we're like it's like the old like the abusive like old school relationship stuff
Yeah,
of
we're
like
so
our
used
band,
to
right?
it.
We're still like we're used to it, we're appreciative, like, but they believed in it enough to press it. Like it doesn't matter. And
I
like
bought it. I had
Alex,
to buy my copies.
they told us they were gonna send us free copies. They did not.
Did not, never did.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's unfortunate. You see more and more of that these days than you'd like to think that you ever would. But the sad truth of it is, these record labels license music from back in the day that, some of that music was obtained under less than stellar practices and sometimes predatory practices. We've had these conversations more than once on this podcast, and it sucks that we have to have them again. But the reality is, when you're young, someone puts a record contract in front of your face, like you probably didn't think to get the family lawyer to look it over. You're just like, what? Yeah, I'll sign this right now. Oh my God. And then before you know it, when you guys are, 10 years older and you're like, you know what? Like people were really digging the morning of like back in the day, like, let's press these records. And then you're like, oh, we can't. Oh, cool. All right. That's fun. So, I'm sorry that
Yeah.
you guys have to go through that as artists. It's a bummer, but
I will say, just as like a blanket thing, our experience is what it is. But the majority of indie labels and indie, because I work at an indie music distributor, they're usually above board and they do take care of their artists and they honor like when the contracts are up and they revert the master rights back. So a lot of my job is doing that.
because
I just want to give a shout out to indie labels who
No,
care
and
about their
and
artists.
we appreciate that because
Right?
the reality is
Just because it's like one of those things, like just because we are wrong doesn't mean like
that
it's like
every
label.
record label is wrong, and I understand that. I get that.
And maybe not with every situation at a label. Things are different for labels across time.
For sure. For sure.
I think Abir hit on a interesting point. It's like you kind of touched on it as well, to be honest. But when you're that age, I think even we still deal with this. The best part about this announcement has been how humbling it's been to see. First of all, not only that people still care, but that people ever really cared. Because when you're younger, it's easy to get swept up in the day-to-day experience of being in the band, and you're not really considering or concerned with all of that stuff, whether that's you got to remember when we started getting popular, streaming wasn't really monetized yet. Nobody had figured it out. People were still downloading records illegally.
Absolutely
And we
right.
actually did fairly well in terms of selling physical copies of our records. Both of our records were on the Billboard Heatseekers chart.
Awesome.
But still, I can't even remember talking about it back
I
then.
think we have 2 singles. I think Reverie and Shine sold like almost 100,000 singles.
Love that.
Like, each.
Yeah, and I can't remember ever talking about like making money off of the album back then. That the thing that's been most interesting is like you kind of get pretender syndrome a bit, where you feel like, do I deserve to be paid for doing something that I love, and am I just happy to be along for the ride? And I think a lot of bands fall into that trap, especially indie bands that are our size. But I do see it changing a lot. Like, I'm outside of the music industry, so now my perspective comes a lot from Abir and other friends that I have that maintain ties to the industry are still working it, and it seems like it's gotten so much better than it used to be back when we were touring.
It really is a good time right now, I would say, just to be like an independent act, and then also just to be on an independent label. Because like, also, I'm not apologizing for any labels. I'm just trying not to like. I'm sure as we go on, I might talk more shit, so I'm trying to predicate some stuff, like some nice stuff. But having said that, it's like it's easier. Like at my distribution, if you're a label that works with me, we give you all the statements. So all you have to do is just like batch them out and send them to the bands, right? It's not like you don't have to hire someone who sit there and like look at statements. But the more you have, it was $20,000, so we sent them 10 CDs like last week. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's not like that anymore. It's not like people aren't sitting in Excel sheets, right? So it's like very automated, where you like everyone expects proper statements and real accounting. We're like, we just didn't get that, and we were in a world where like bands continue and I'll say this, like majors still continue to do very great creative accounting like about their stuff, right? They're like, oh well, we spent this much on marketing, you're not recouped. Like for us, a lot of that whole was like we did well selling physical, but like we had to pay for that, the stuff that we were selling on tour, you know what I mean? And so that would add to like our recoupment, and you're like, okay, cool, well you sold 5,000 CDs this like quarter, but like that means that like you also owe us this much because we sent it all to you for tour.
Right.
Now, I'm curious about like the location of the show. We mentioned how you guys are in that Hudson Valley, Newburgh area, but you're doing a New York City show. And, when we talked to Jay from Just Surrender, they were doing the final show at the Chance. And I'm sure that like losing that place means a lot to you guys. So was there ever a conversation of maybe doing a show in the Newburgh area versus New York City, or was it always like New York City or bust?
Yeah, Justin, do you mind if I start really quick? So
yeah, of course, it's your hometown.
So the thing with the Chance and the Hudson Valley thing is very hard for us. It was like, Just Surrender will tell you like we used to like not get booked for shows there unless Just Surrender put us on shows. So like, and then they would put us on shows as like a legitimate touring band, but then they'd be like, well, just surrender put you on, you still have to sell 50 tickets type shit. And we go, wait, what? We just told, like, we have an agent, talk to our agent. We're not, you don't just go direct to us and tell us that we sell 50. Yeah.
Right.
So there's a lot of weird things like in our relationship with a lot of that stemmed from us being like, we're not from Poughkeepsie, we're from Newburgh, New York. There's a whole thing. You'll start to come to find that we never did anything the way anyone ever told us to do it. And I'm very proud of that, like looking back on it. But that being said, the Chance to us was always the place we only played the Chance twice without Just Surrender. And the 2 times were our one headliner, and one time we did like one show with Breathe Carolina there. In every avenue. And that was also weirdly depressing to me because we were supposed to play the Loft. We got upgraded to the Chance, and Straylight Run got downgraded to the Loft. And we all watched John Nolan play like a beautiful set while like Broken Side was doing like crunkcore. And there's nothing wrong with you like that, but it was, for us, it was like just a sign of where like music is going and like where we were in the space of that, because we probably fit more on the Straylight Run tour than we did on the tour we were on, you know. So that's one thing of that. The other thing of that is like, yeah, we would hold our own like Newburgh hometown shows. Like when The World As We Know It came out, we did an album release show, and we like sold it out, and it was amazing. And you know, like that was great. I remember one time, like actually before Justin was in the band, New Found Glory was playing the Chance, and we decided to book a hometown show in Newburgh, and everyone was like, no one's gonna come. We sold like 500 tickets in Newburgh. We were like, these aren't the same fans that go to Poughkeepsie, that go to the Chance. So we always felt like outside of Just Surrender, they're like some of our best friends. And I talked to Dan from Just Surrender as much as I talked to the rest of the Morning Of and stuff like that. So like they're, a lot of them are family. We did one of our favorite tours, I think, was with them in the Higher, right, Justin?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
That was like one of the best tours, because we were all like at this space where we all felt like we were just like, the scene was like leaving us. You know, it was like, we'd be like, oh, tonight there's a line. And then we'd be like, oh, thank God we just toured with Breathe Carolina, because all these kids are in Breathe Carolina shirts and they're here to see us, you know. But then like, it was like, but they're not, you know, it was a whole thing. So we like loved these bands. It was a great tour. We were all like kind of at a bitter place. And I feel like that's like why I enjoyed that tour. But all that to say, New York City for us is like, a lot of the band lived in New York City for over a decade. You know, we spent a lot of time there growing up, like as a band, like all of us together, doing whatever it was we did. So growing up there, like New York City was like it to us. So like we felt like it was
It was
like
also our first show up here with me and Jess in the band.
yeah, we played in like Greenpoint, New York. We played like this like weird club as like a test run show. And I passed the diner actually recently with my kids, and I was like, that's where I played my first show, Justin and Jessica.
Yeah, my perspective on that too is like, just to touch on the Just Surrender piece for a second. I can remember going to see Just Surrender when they toured with Cartel, and they played at Temple University in Philadelphia, and I was in high school. So like I always was a fan of them, since before they were even called Just Surrender. And then when I joined the Morning Of, shortly before we started recording The World As We Know It, we had met them, and it was really cool. And I always kind of looked at them as like a big brother band. So Poughkeepsie always did feel like theirs to me. It never felt like ours. And honestly, it's hard to say New York City feels like ours, considering
It's
what it
just New York
is.
City. It's everywhere,
but
right?
but it always did feel more like home. Like I can remember doing label showcases there. I remember some of our first big headlining shows being there. And like Abir said, even when we would play the Chance, it almost always felt like the people that were running it weren't huge fans, even though Just Surrender was, because like I said, they were so great to us, and we love
They
them to
found it
death.
like so surprising when I told them. I told them like I feel like I broke this news to them like 2 years ago. When they asked us to play, they're like, "Can you guys want to reunite and play right before us at the Chance for our last show?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. I'm not even gonna ask the band," because like I was like, "No offense to you guys, I don't want us to go through the work of a reunion."
Having to sell tickets.
Yeah, and then like playing your show. Like, people are there to be at a Just in Poughkeepsie. They're there to see a Just Surrender show. That is like a very special. It's for me as a fan. That's a special thing. You know what I mean? And like I don't want to take anything. It's not like we're like bitter about that. I love that. Like in every moment of my life that I've gotten to play the Chance that I've enjoyed, is because of Just Surrender, and like we're very thankful to them for that opportunity. You know what I mean? But having said that, like, yeah, we're not like in like the years of the 2020s, we're not reuniting to like do one show direct supporting them where like all the kids will be like, yeah, I don't know, it's not for me, man. When's Just Surrender going on?
Yeah.
I also think that that's a valid point too when it comes to like where we've felt at home. That scene coming from South Jersey, where it's a very pop punk heavy scene as well. I think the scene in like the Hudson Valley, especially around that time, was more built around bands like Just Surrender and Matchbook Romance. New York City has always felt a little more our pace when it comes to like the style of music we make, which I would consider to be more along like the indie pop segment of like pop rock music than pop punk. And
Or like
yeah, I
you're at
agree.
least like at the very least where you're your gateway into indie, you know,
Yeah.
like so yeah, I mean I like New York City for us, to Justin's point, I remember when the World's We Know came out, we were on the front of MySpace for like maybe like 3 hours. But that 3 hours at that time of like the height of MySpace, like we played the Nindy Factory when I was back in Manhattan, and there was just like a line around like the block, and we like got there and we're like, holy crap, what just happened? And everyone was they would see us and like yell, and it was this crazy thing to be like, this is New York City. Like I grew up like just taking the
Right.
train down, like, you know, we grew up in the shadow of it, you know, not to quote Thursday, but like it's like that's like a thing for us. And we were there and we're like, holy shit, like these are people all here for
Well,
us. It's crazy.
that's a huge thing. It's an enormous thing. I mean, like, New York City is literal, it's the mecca of the art world. I mean, it's like where
It's
else
also the
would
neck of basketball. That's Knicks fans.
where else would you rather be though, than like New York City? And if
Yeah,
you
I mean, for us as a band, probably only Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah, that's very close
oh
second.
my God, please don't you don't even get it. You
I
don't
mean,
know
when we
what
did our
you're doing
reunions
right now.
in 2013, when we did our reunions, we did Raleigh and New York. That's
Right.
like
Yeah.
those are our
You're
two
just
markets.
you're proving my point. It sucks. I just want to let you know. See, all Mikey
Yeah, so
does,
I'm
all
in
Mikey's
Charlotte,
been
North
doing for
Carolina,
7
and
years. Yeah, all of Mikey's has been doing for 7 years is talking about how much cooler North Carolina is than everywhere else. And anytime he gets an opportunity to say something about Charlotte or Raleigh or whatever, he takes that opportunity. So now that you were like, oh, we love Raleigh is great. And now when we're off of this call and like you guys are snug up in your bed doing whatever you're doing, he's going to be like, you heard what they said about Raleigh, dude? And I'm going to be like, yes, I heard what they said about
He's not
Raleigh. And
wrong.
he's going to be like, dude,
I'm
it's
sorry, man,
right.
but
Yeah.
and
then
then
now,
Raleigh, North Carolina, we
and then
have to
now
do it.
the
This is
next
like
the
for
next
us, we
3
have
months
to.
of bands that we're gonna get are just gonna be all bands from North Carolina. It's gonna be bands from North Carolina.
I will say, like, I
Carry
don't
North
think
Carolina.
we're gonna do. I can't imagine us doing another show soon. Like, I think it would be some time before we did another one. But I think if there was a place where we were gonna go other than New York City, that would be first on the list.
Hell yeah, man. Good for
Yeah,
you guys.
this isn't like I feel like it's not like a thing of like like the show's gonna do something and then we're gonna be like, here's 3 more, be like surprising you.
Right.
It's like
Yeah, no,
the
that's
show's
not
gonna
happening.
happen if the Never Say Never thing actually happens, it's probably like 2027, you know?
And I think the other thing, like, you guys got to realize too is like, after all is said and done with this show that you guys are playing, right? Like, you got to like assess yourselves, right? And be like, after you inevitably play for probably what, like an hour, you guys have to like look at each other after you play your last song and you're like, can we do this like more than once a year? Like at this point, or like, can we do this? But I'm sure that, like I said, once you guys get a taste of it, you guys are going to be figuring out how to play some more shows, and we're here to see it. I mean, not that we expect anything out of you guys. Get ready for this show that you guys are going to be playing and enjoy the hell out of it. But like, 2027 is going to come along and we're going to see little morning of things just peppered all over the place. I'm going to be like, see, I knew it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, man. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I will say, like, just like very honestly, us as a band, like going back to like we never felt like we were like the biggest band. Like I usually like if I tell people about our band, like sometimes they'll be like, "What's the name? What was the name of your band?" Like I'll mumble like the morning of, and then like someone will be like, "Oh, I played Shine in my wedding" or something like that, like crazy stuff. And then I'm like, "Oh, great! Now I'm at like my friend Ross that like is like a daycare dad friend of mine. He's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't know that was you," and now I like that's like my life now, and it's like so I feel like there's a lot of like things like that that I think are we start to see, but like it's still like I've never felt like, and maybe because we wanted this to be a really big thing when we were growing up, right? Like, I don't think anyone like starts these bands and are like, I really just want to play 500 people clubs forever, right? Like that's like probably not like the, and I loved that honestly because I love 500 cap clubs more than 250 cap clubs, So it's like, yeah, that was like awesome, and I'm grateful for all of those experiences. But I think for us, like we dreamt so big, and it was like hard. But I think now it's like it's not like this like dream anymore. It's just like this like really awesome thing we did, and maybe we get to keep doing it because we're so lucky.
Now
Yeah,
I'm
additional
curious
to
with
that,
all
I
these.
think,
Sorry, I was gonna say
no,
like
go ahead.
with all these people sharing today, like the tickets went on sale. And I'm seeing people like sharing that they're gonna be like flying in for these shows. Like, how amazing is that for you guys? And just like rewarding to know that like you made such a difference in some people's lives that they are literally willing to get on a plane to fly for this show.
I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
like
that's
unreal.
been, yeah, that's crazy. Some of the stories that people have sent me, just especially people, like I said, internet free for over 10 years. And a lot of the people who were super, super close to the band, like friends of the band that were big fans and huge promoters of what we did, I haven't spoke to in a really long time. So catching up with some of them and hearing their stories and seeing where they're coming from and the plans they're making around the show, that's been crazy. And then obviously we had some people who would have been considered like street teamers, right? Like super fans of the show, of the band, who would travel around with us and help us promote and all types of great things. And seeing them as adults now is really particularly
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, and some of these people are like kind of like insane. Like some of them work with like some of the biggest artists
Yeah,
out.
yeah, really. Right.
It's
They've
not even like
succeeded. They've done great. Yeah.
yeah. So and you're like you still care about our little band, Like I had like one of my friends who's like an agent for like massive bands, and he like in like my dad chat he's like Beer, we got to talk about your reunion show. I was like, please don't do this to me, man. Like you just like announced like 3 shows like MSG. You don't need to like make me talk about like my show here. Yeah. And there's like guys from like much bigger relevant bands in that chat. So I'm like, please don't make me do this. Cause like I'm pretty sure like I've never talked about the band I'm in, but he knows because like he booked like some of our first tours. So like it's like a different thing. But yeah, it's a whole I mean, honestly, like just the fact that like and I say this very honestly, like I think about like having family is like the expense of like anything you do. Just the idea that people are like gonna buy like a freaking ticket and like travel is like, come on, man, like that, like we're so lucky for that to like happen, in this day and age. It's like, I don't know. I feel like,
Especially New York City because of how expensive it is.
yeah. I mean, my favorite comment was some guy being like, I never thought I'd have to step foot in New York City, but I will for you guys. And I was like, awesome. This is awesome.
Yeah. And, as you mentioned, when you guys were in it, right, in the 2010s, the early 2000s, there was so much like competition, like internally with other bands and like labels. And like there was just, it was a different world then, right? Like, because truthfully, there was a lot of money to be made, unfortunately. Like, there were bands that were making some people pretty rich, right? And because of that, like, you don't really get to appreciate what you have at that time. And like
I
this
mean,
is going to be your time to really just like no strings attached. Like if there's 750 there, if there's 500 there, like this is your moment and your time to like have it with your families and the fans that are, flying across the country to come see it. And a lot of bands don't get that time, that moment. And I'm super pumped that you guys are getting it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like that was happening for like, everyone. It was not happening for I want to be very clear that we weren't like there was a moment where we were recorded by a lot of labels, and we were so like us in how we are, and we're still us in how we are. And I think that like I look back every time like there's things that we talk about like I think as a band like we should have done this, we should have done that, and they're obviously like you're gonna have regrets as an adult and like looking back on decisions. But I think that a lot of the things that like at the end of the day, everything in this band we did with integrity and we did it with like kind of like being like this is the band that we are and who we are as people, and like we lift each other up like together. And I feel like um didn't make us again the biggest band. That's fine. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like I get to like sleep at night being like, if I have to talk about this band and like people now having like these reactions, it's like, man, like we did this. Like I I feel like the funniest thing on Reddit right now is like that people keep talking about we're like the nicest band they've ever met. And we're like, you know what? Like that is awesome. Like if I was like if that's like what we're remembered for, that's amazing.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Yeah, I want to add to that too, because like we heard stories or you hear stories, you know, being in the music industry of bands that have all this inner turmoil and tumultuousness in the way that they are as a group of human beings, and like we never had that. Like we were always super close. And like Abir said, we got courted by a lot of people who asked us to do stupid shit or change things around, and we always said no and went with people who saw us for who we were. And you know, it's really crazy. Like we're so lucky. And I'll say like I thought I appreciated it when it was all happening. I did. Like I felt very grateful for the opportunity and very excited about the shows and things we were doing back then. But I think, and Abir can attest to this, it's like when you become a parent, when you get older, when you lose a parent or parents, when you go through, you know, the challenges of life in becoming an adult, you kind of lose track of all of those things that were so innocent and sweet. And then all of a sudden it gets thrown right back at you when something like this comes around and puts it into perspective like, holy shit, man, like we really made an impact. Whether it's with 10 people or 10 million people, like it's no different, right? Like the experience of those 10 people is so genuine and true. And it just makes it all like, holy shit, I can't believe we lived that life. Like it feels like a different human being, right? Like in terms of where I was then and where I am now mentally. And I know that whether there's 400 people at the show or whether we sell it out and book 5 more shows and they all sell out, like it's going to mean as much to me either way, because I know that there are people who have waited 10 years, which even sounds so, I don't know what the word is. So, like almost unbelievable and mind blowing to me. It almost sounds like that's not my life, that there's been somebody waiting 10 years to see me sing with my mediocre voice on a stage with my best friends.
Well, your voice is amazing, but also, yeah, the idea that people have been waiting 16 years to see us. It's like there are people who are like, our reunion shows were 13 years ago, rather. And it's like insane that like people are like, I've been waiting this long, and I'm like, come on, man, that is like,
Yeah,
like you've been thinking about this, like that is like that's like insane because like us as a band, we have not like we our group chat goes strong, but it's one of those group chats where we just kind of make fun of each other for the most part. Like,
yeah, we never talk about the
it's
band.
like, like life achievements and like things like you have a kid, like things like that, But like, other than that, it's like, like we're not like, we don't look at it in that way until now. And I feel like it's like, I feel like that's one of those things where I feel like when we first started the band, when we first started touring, I remember I had this like vision of like caring all the time. And I feel like I was like, I'm gonna watch every band that ever opens before that plays before us. That's like the most important part. And I was like, like we're gonna meet every person. And then I think early on when like it was easier to do that, when it's like 50 people at a show, 100 people at a show, that's like when we made those like early friends, right? Justin, like the super fan type,
Hmm.
like kids that are like, they're like, some of those people are like my friends, like actually like the girl who ran like the TMO fan club on like MySpace, like she's coming to hang out with my kids on Sunday. Like, you know what I mean? Hannah. It's like they're not fan, they're just like family.
They became like families. Yeah.
So like it's not like I don't think about like in this context I'm talking about her like that. That is not at all like what I would like think about her as a person, right? In like real life. But as time went on, like there's more people, and like it doesn't have to be a lot of people, but like at a show of 500 people, you're not going to be like friends with every single person, right? And it gets diluted. Things start to be like you're on the road for X amount of time, so like it gets diluted a lot with that stuff, and that's the hardest part about that stuff too. You're like, are you getting bigger? You hope you are. You're like sitting there, and you're kind of like, all right, like I don't know, you're just doing
Also,
this.
with LPR, it being 700 cap, like I would have been happy with 500 people showing up at the show. And then today, when the tickets went on sale, we got updates, and the ticket selling is going much better than I had anticipated it going. It's making us a little nervous about like, oh shit, we really have to be tight at this show. There's going to be a lot of people there. But I was even thinking today when I was driving, just absent-mindedly thinking about like when it sells out, if it sells out, what will we do in a bigger venue? And I was kind of like, I don't really want that. Like, I would like it to sell out, don't get me wrong. But I wouldn't want it to be like upgraded to a bigger venue, because I do feel, and I think this is something where, again, the maturity of growing up has changed this about me personally. We would play like 500 cap venues on tour back in the day, and I'd be like kind of upset that we weren't growing and getting into that 1,000 cap and bigger. And now I feel like I would lose touch with the crowd. And part of what's so beautiful about the experience of the morning of is those relationships that Abir was just talking about. And like when I was thinking today about it getting put into a bigger room, I was like, well, that would feel kind of weird, especially, my daughter's 14, which is crazy that I have a 14-year-old daughter. And this will be obviously her first time ever seeing the band. So, and some of her friends will be there, and they're starting to get into the band. I think about the parallels between them and some of those people that Abir's talking about, who were super fans that have become more like family and friends. When I met them, they were 15 years old, like the same age as my daughter, and I want her to get to experience the band in the same way that they did, like in a smaller, more intimate setting. And the thought of like looking out at a sea of 1,500 people to find my daughter isn't really appealing, even though she's very boozy. She'll probably be on the side stage, not in the front watching. Um, but like I want to be able to look out. I feel like 500 to 700 is a great number to be able to look out and recognize the faces of the people that you're super excited are there. And yeah, I'm excited for that piece of it.
Yeah. And, I don't want to be like the old guy that's like, oh, just be grateful for what you have. But like, think about the amount of bands that you probably rubbed elbows with and toured with that are never going to get this chance to play again. Right. Like,
That's a nice way to think about it. I think about the bands who have gone on to do much bigger rooms.
No, but like truthfully, like, Count the Stars, for example, band out of Albany, you guys probably played with.
I love Count the Stars.
Yeah. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they had these conversations all the time. Like, hey, wouldn't it be fun to do it one more time? And unfortunately, they're never going to be able to do that because they lost Dave Shapiro. Like, it's like life happens, right? And I think sometimes
That was a heartbreaking,
right?
Terrible.
Like, I think bands and hearing that you guys have stayed friends for all of these years, like getting that chance to do it one more time and see what happens, it's just like beautiful, right? And being part of this scene for as long as we've been, like it's so, just as a fan, refreshing to see bands get another shot at this. And it doesn't need to be like a money grab or, because like a lot of times that's what people think, like, oh, they're doing these money grabs.
I want to be clear
It's
that
definitely not that for us.
I think that like, and this is more for the fans to know about this, but like, like any money that we're probably making at this show, we're going to be either putting into like production, video, photo, and then also like, whatever's left is it's probably gonna we're still trying to figure stuff out, but we're gonna be doing some other stuff for like some causes and things like that. So like for us, this show is like theoretically not a money grab, but all the money is probably gonna go into like the making this show like a really special experience. I think the one thing we were kind of robbed of as a band was like we didn't get to do these crazy headliners. Like our headliners were like 300 to 500 cap, right? So like that where we can do like cool lighting, production, like video. We couldn't like create like this moment, and there's so many people who like if the never say never thing doesn't come through, like if this is it, you know what I mean? We want to make sure something lives for the people who can't make it. You know what I mean? So we want to create enough stuff for everybody that like to have something kind of thing. So and for us, I mean, like to me, like my motivating factor for this was like to have some like kind of living thing on the internet for like my kids to always be like, hey, instead of this grainy video of you guys at Chain Reaction from '08, like here's this thing, and oh, I was there, like oh shit, okay, cool, that's awesome, like you know. And so that to me like is like very important. So like the money grab part is not here. Maybe if we start doing other stuff, like we
Well,
revisit
I wasn't
have to
implying
be
it
like,
for you. Like I mean, like any
oh yeah,
band
no.
that
And
comes back
also
and
to
does
be
it.
clear, I'm 100% all in on everyone doing the money grab because like we did not, none of our bands made this show. To be clear, like the
Even
money
the
they're
big ones,
giving,
yeah.
they're giving us is like the most money we'll ever be paid for a show, like period. Just the guarantee alone, what we'll walk out. We've never seen stuff like this in our like. We toured as a band. We toured for probably like 6 to 8 years. We've never college shows. Doesn't matter. Never seen money like this. You know what I mean? So this is like not like what we're used to. You know?
Yeah, touche. Now I do want to just like because we've scheduled this interview months and months ago, and it's kind of a funny story how like the morning of came back on my radar because like 20 plus years have passed. Like some people, there's just so much music at our fingertips. So some bands like come and go in our lives. And my friend Tony Murphy was working the Orlando date of Warped Tour. And he was actually working at a Glamour Kills tent. And I was like, what the hell? Like Glamour Kills is back? Like I was not expecting that. And like instantly when I hear Glamour Kills, I think of the Poughkeepsie scene, right? Like the Poughkeepsie Newburgh scene, right? Like all those bands, the Glamour Kills tours and everything. And I was joking. I was like, man, like wouldn't it be sick in 2026 if there was a Glamour Kills tour again with like The Morning Of and Just Surrender and We Are the In Crowd. And he was just like working this tent laughing. And it got me to think about you guys again. And I was like doing the bedtime routine and I happened to just put The Morning Of on. And I like didn't think my daughter was really listening. And I mentioned this to you, like she now requests The Morning Of as like the music that we fall asleep to. But she calls it, she goes, can you put the boy
Love that.
music on? Which is so funny because it's like not what I would classify The Morning Of as. Like you got the dual vocals, there's clearly male and female vocals, but she just goes, can you put the boy band on?
Yeah, it's okay. My wife calls us High School Musical, which is also what we called ourselves.
Yeah, a lot of people called us that.
No, it's your daughter's
you
okay.
guys were kind of doing something that was still like emo adjacent, but you wouldn't, like you mentioned, categorize you guys as like the pop punk bands, right? Like that were really popular in the early 2000s. And sometimes it just makes you wonder, like, man, if you guys were just like in a different scene, what would have been, right? And I know you guys don't want to think about that, but like there's bands that kind of fall in that same kind of like bands. Like I like to call them bands. Like people who are in bands really like them.
Yeah.
And,
no, I mean, I appreciate, honestly, like one of my favorite compliments is that one. Cause like, we're going to live in the world we're going to live in. That's like, okay with me. Like we've had like so many great, like really now like, be like successful bands tell us like they care about us and stuff like that. And I'm appreciative of that. It means a lot to us. But I think also for us in that regard, yeah, like we fall, I think there are a lot of bands in that world where like given your age or your look or like also the start, like to be clear, like our early start, we were very like more post-hardcore emo, like our first EP. And then we transitioned into more like proper pop, And so I think that was a little confusing to people, I would say early on. And I think that, for us, like all that stuff, do I wish like we could have like opened for Coldplay? Like, yeah, like that's like I was like, I think at one point that was like my dream. Like I would have settled for the Fray. Like that's fine. Yeah, that's like the world we wanted to live in at some point. But I think that at the same time, like, like I'm grateful for the scene that we were in. It's not like we didn't properly fit into it, you know what I mean? Like kind of thing. And I think that I look back at it more now as myself, like being like, we could have done more things as people to fit in more, but we were like much more like we were who we are, and like that's okay, you know. And I'm
One
very
band that I think is similar in that capacity is actually Copeland with Aaron. So he sang on our second album on the last song. And I always wondered, like, I feel like, again, like Abir said, the first EP, which I was a fan of before I even joined the band. That's how I found The Morning Of, was on Pure Volume when that Apple EP came out. Welcome, Change, Goodbye, Gravity. And Copeland was similar in the sense that, like, Beneath Medicine Tree was kind of like indie rock slash, pop rock. And they kind of fit in with those early 2000s, like early pop punk bands that were like starting to transition out of like the heavier riffs into more like radio pop rock. But then they kind of took a pivot and went in like these truly like, I don't even know what you would consider it, but more along the veins of like an indie version of Radiohead. And they still got put on all of these tours with all of these bands that they grew up in the scene with. And I felt like they were one where if they had just been in the right places, they would have been huge. I mean, they're big, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying huge, like global scale huge. Um, so yeah, I mean, like I think that was a pretty good person to get on our album because I saw a lot of parallels in their band to our band.
Yeah. Also, never forget, we played the smallest show in Orlando. The first time we met Aaron. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
In Will's Pub, and like he came and
Oh, love Will's
like,
Pub.
one of the things he said to us, I think, what do you say? Like every band that opened for us went on to be massive. Like he was like Paramore. He started naming them, and they're like Paramore, All American Reject. You just like name bands that are like massive arena bands, and he just like named them all. And I was like, I loved his energy because I was like, that's the same energy we have. We're like, all right, it's not gonna happen for us, but I'm happy for everyone. Like it happened for. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm curious about that feature. Like, it sounds like you did have some kind of relationship with Aaron Marsh, and in the 2010s or early 2000s, bands had features, but like they were more sincere than they are in like the year 2026 because I feel like bands just kind of pay to get like names on songs these days. I even think there's an app for that where you can be like, oh, here, let's get Kellen Quinn on my song, and like it just doesn't feel the same as it did back in the day. So how did you guys approach Aaron to get him to do the feature, or like how did that come to life?
Yeah, geez, I'm going into the old mind vault here in terms of that. I think originally how it came about was we had some mutual friends who introduced me to Aaron in the beginning. And when we were shopping around our demos for who was going to produce our second album, we ended up going with Jim Wirt, but Aaron was one of the people that I had sent the demos to. And he had given me like a bunch of notes of things that he would have done as a producer. We really actually loved what he was doing. But I would say the band that we were most similar to in terms of stylistically was probably Jack's Mannequin. At least that's what we wanted to go toward with our second album. So when Jim Wirt agreed to do it, it was like a no-brainer that we had to go with him. But I was such a massive, I mean, I am still such a massive fan of Copeland, but back then
Yeah,
especially
me too.
they were probably like my favorite band at that point. And I fanboyed big time with Aaron, which he made him super uncomfortable because he's a very humble dude. Um, but I remember, just generally we were going back and forth about the album, and there was a couple tracks that we had written where I was like, wow, these could be really great tracks for his voice. And we were always fans of a good feature. Like on our first album, we had one of our friends, Sid from Yearling, do the last track on that album. So we were kicking around ideas of people that we could include on this album, and I sent Aaron 2 songs. I sent him Heaven or Hell, and I sent him Cobwebs and Cables. And I said, these are the 2 songs where I feel like your voice would be great. And he sent me back a note like, hey, I really like this song, Heaven or Hell. I explained to him what Abir and I have written the song about, and he resonated with that. And he was like, I just really want to extend the bridge. And I said to him, like, dude, take it, chop it up, do whatever it is you got to do, and send it back. And I actually remember when we received it, like his take on the song, because we had recorded it out in Santa Monica. We had our producer send him the tracks, and then he put his part in and send us back. And we were driving through the Rocky Mountains coming home from California, and obviously back then, this is like before the days of good cell phone service, so we had no service, and we used to have to download stuff on our laptops by putting in those air cards that you'd get from Verizon and put them into the USB slot. So there was like no service there. And I remember he texted me and said he had sent it, and we're driving in the van and nobody could get signal to download it. And we were freaking out. Like, we just wanted to hear it so bad. And then finally we got service and downloaded it. And then it was just, I just remember it was a very beautiful moment. We were driving through the mountains and it was sunset and it was gorgeous weather. And that's always been my favorite Morning Of song from the minute that we wrote it. And then we got to that bridge part with his voice, and we had never heard it. He had extended it by double the length, and boom, his voice kicks in, and it's got the high octave and the low octave and that beautiful falsetto. And the way he records his vocals, he does 3 takes of them. I'm actually giving away his trade secrets, so I'm going to stop there. But he gets a really nice full sound on his voice, and I just remember thinking, like, oh my God, that was probably one of my favorite experiences in the band. It was like one of the first times where I felt like I had done it, or I had made it, was because I had gotten Aaron to sing on the last song, and his part is so good. But the problem is, it's the best part on the album. So
I mean, his part is the
it,
best. But I will say
yeah.
that my favorite part about writing that song was like, that's like the song that I feel like Justin and I wrote together, and it felt like we needed each other to write that song. And then somehow we also needed Aaron to like steal the show, and like the stuff that we hear doesn't matter.
Perfect. It's perfect. A
But it's
perfect
like very
allegory for our band.
like very Morning Of to like be like, oh wow, that's the thing that like we were texting about this the other day, and I was like, I loved the way we like actually wrote that song together, because a lot of things in the can be isolated where like people write their parts kind of thing. And yeah, it was a really cool experience. And then I mean, that's the last song I wrote for the Morning Of. So for me, like for that to be our favorite song is like very important for me.
I actually, believe it or not, I think that was the last song we wrote.
Yeah,
because I don't think we wrote any other songs before we went out to Santa Monica.
Yeah, but I mean, I just mean for me, writing songs, period, as like a person, like I was like thinking in my head, like that's it. But like it was like it. We had never like I feel like every song we wrote before, it was like, oh, I wrote this song, you wrote this song, kind of thing. Like it was like just like it's like you wrote this part, like that was it.
Yeah, even
It's like,
sometimes
this is your song, this is my song. You know
I
what
don't.
mean?
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think that I'm trying in my head to think. I don't think there's any Morning Of songs where it was like a split of the lyrics like that.
Yeah, we never had like it was like either I would write it and this is
Yeah.
you guys sang, or like you would write it and that's what you did, like kind of thing. Or just, you know, it's like, but like that was like very much like Justin and I being like, it was like, I remember sitting in Rob's parents' like room being like, I have this awesome chorus. I was like, I have no idea what to do for the verse. And then Justin started doing the verse and I was like, that's it. Just go.
That's a good song. That's like, well, what sucks because it's not like the catchiest song we ever wrote. So when people do want to hear the band, it's not the song that I show them, but it's definitely my favorite song.
Oh, it's this. My wife asked what to share in her like company Slack, and I was like, you share that, and you make sure they listen all the way through.
They'd probably be like, oh, what is this weird time signature in there?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, maybe they can tell me because I have to start practicing.
I sometimes in the early days of like when the band was over, I would still like troll YouTube to see what people were commenting on the songs. And there was this one kid who commented, and hopefully someday he sees this podcast. There was this one kid who commented on the YouTube video for the Heaven or Hell song and said, "Quantize the freaking drums." And I was so pissed about that because first of all, the drums are quantized. Dan is also a human metronome. It's just not in 4/4, so the kid got all weirded out by the verse part.
And like Aaron didn't just like phone it in, right? Because then, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not like a musician by any chance, but like I could tell that he's also doing like harmonies towards the end of the song. Like there's more that he's doing other than just like his bridge, and like he's doing
Yeah, I
more
mean, he
throughout the
also
song.
wrote like the best lyrics.
Yeah, he wrote that whole part. Yeah, I mean, like we had nothing to do with that. When we recorded the demo of it, and I have it, so I'd be happy to send it to you if you give me your email. It's basically the same song. The only difference is that the part in the bridge that is just the organ is half the amount of time, and he extended that, and then we still had like the big group part at the end where we're doing the 4-part harmony over that really great guitar riff, but Aaron looped in stuff and put a harmony on his own part and extended it and had a vision for it. So yeah, no, he definitely did not phone it in, and it wasn't like a pay to play kind of thing. It was like Copeland, he knew how much Copeland meant to everybody in our band, and I think he almost felt obligated, thankfully. He felt obligated to pay it forward the same way I would if somebody said those things about the morning of. And he put his heart and soul into it, and it shows because, like I said, I'm not just being humble. I think it's the best part on the whole album, especially from that point forward through to the end of the song, is just really, really amazing.
Amen.
Yeah, I mean
and it's funny
that song
that you
to me is, like,
mentioned how
what
like
makes me proud that we made music.
Yeah, I agree.
Like period. Like that song is like, if someone's like, I don't care, you don't need to like my band, but this is like the song that like you're gonna sit and listen through for 5.5 minutes. Like,
Yeah, you can't if you like music, in my opinion, you can't listen to the end of that song and not think that that's really good musicianship.
and if you don't like it, whatever. But like, if you want to listen to something that I've helped create, like that's what you're gonna listen to.
no, yeah, it's fantastic. It really is. And like there's just so many layers to that song, not even just like vocally. There's just so much that you can take, like every listen can be something new that you pick up in that song. And just
But yeah, there's a lot going on.
there's a lot going on. But speaking of features, and I know I mentioned this earlier this morning, when I found out you were going to be on here, Justin. You did do a feature with actually one of our former guests. We've had, I guess, like Honor Bright adjacent members on the podcast. They're in a new band called Violet up in Syracuse. You did a feature with them, and when I went back and listened to that song as I was preparing for the Violet interview, I was like, damn, like this sounds like Mayday Parade before Mayday Parade. Like, did you do you ever go back and listen to that track? Like, did you ever
No.
make that connection after finding out about Mayday Parade?
No, definitely not. I mean, like I was always super tight with Tim from Honor Bright, and then I was pretty tight with Liam too, but those were the really the only two dudes that I had gotten to know substantially in that band. And they were recording in at Nada Studios, which is, I guess, what town is that, Abir? It's like right outside of
Technically in New Windsor, but
New Windsor. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like right outside of
But
Newburgh.
I think John moved studios, but I'm not.
It used to be there,
Yeah, it's more
and
close.
I don't even remember when I met the Honor Bright guys, to be honest, in terms of the first time. But like I said, Tim and I were frequent texters back in the day. And he asked me if I would do it, and I went in and I did it at Nada, and that, no offense to Honor Bright, I love those guys. It's just I haven't listened to it in I don't even know how long. It's been very, very long time. Probably close to 15 years.
Well, go back now with your much older ears and listen to it, and now knowing like where the music scene kind of went after they did that song, and you're gonna be like, wow, yeah, they were onto something with that one. And one of my
I mean,
favorite,
for sure. I was a huge advocate of theirs. I remember, I think, I don't want to take obviously any type of undue credit, but I'm pretty sure I introduced Fred Feldman to Honor Bright when they originally signed with Triple Crown. So I did that feature, and we were always tight with Fred Feldman because of his role at East West, which was a distributor for Tragic Hero Records. And I'm pretty sure I sent him that feature song and was like, yo, this band, because at that time he was like super into those heavier like pop punk bands that were coming out. And I think years later they ended up signing. It might not have been years later. It might have been within a couple years.
Yeah, I would
They ended
guess
up
that
signing with Triple Crown.
Justin being on that is how they got signed. Period. Just because when I hung out with Fred like a few months ago, and it was like the nicest thing, and we love him to death. But like him, the best part of our album rollouts for like The World As You Know It were because like he was the head of East West and Warner and stuff like that. We were upstream to for a little bit, and he was like, he kind of led the whole thing. And it was actually really cool when we announced the show. A bunch of people from East West Warner, they're like texting me like, all right, we're all going. Like we're buying tickets. This is for us. I was like, all right, cool. Because I was like, we're not gas listing you because we have family.
It's
But
funny
like,
to hear that you guys have like this great relationship with Fred, because I as a fan of Triple Crown Records and the bands that were on that label, like that seems like a really great fit for you guys too.
But yeah,
okay, are we allowed to spill like this kind of tea? Like on this? So the worst mistake we ever
this is
made
about this is about to become like a
was
talk show.
Fred. Yeah, I talked about this with Fred. I hung out with Fred for like 3 hours, like a few months ago, and the whole thing was just him and I just being like, man, like things could have gone so different for you guys if you just did this like kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, I know, Fred, I know, and I love you, and like this is our fault, it's our collective fault. We had a terrible manager.
We made a lot of strange
Yeah,
decisions.
we'll talk about like positive like people. Like Fred is a positive person, and
Absolutely, very
like
much so.
love him, and he's doing so. He doesn't need to do anything else for this culture, but like he's still doing everything he can for Hop Mulligan, and they're killing it, kind of thing. Like Fred is like just amazing, and we literally had an offer from him. We had signed on to this big time manager. We don't need to get into the specifics. So
We'll call him Voldemort.
Yeah. And basically he burned some bridges, and he was like, you're either like, I'm gonna get you guys $2 million from Columbia. And he was like, here's this Kelly Clarkson song that you want you to cut, like stuff like like the generic stuff. And like again, like granted, I've been there as an A&R, so I don't want to like shit on people's like things they do. But anyways, not for us. And anyways, over time it just didn't work out. And I think that was like the thing that when I look back at like what could have actually theoretically moved us forward, maybe not like blown us up, but moved us forward properly, is like us being on Triple Crown, us having Fred support, us being with Fred. That would have been like a game changer probably for us, like in terms of like a person who got us and like cared about us in the way he did, because he still cared. Like when I met with him a few months ago, and he was like, man, he's like, my kids are grown, I have grandkids, and like they still listen to The World As We Know It. And like we're just like, and I was like, I can't believe that you who was like worked with some of the band, like you worked with Brand New, and you're like sitting there like name checking songs from like this like 3-year era that like we were around you, and you're like talking to me, and like it's like it's one thing for like the industry side, like whatever, like we need to talk, but it's like another thing when you talk to me like about music, it's like it's very heartwarming,
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hey, man.
basically we made some bad decisions. Like I wish we signed with Fred. I wish we were with Triple Crown. That is one of my favorite labels of all time. And yeah, it is what it is, like bands make mistakes. I think all that to say that like it still nets out, right? Like if we had like a scene hit or something like that, it would have changed everything and it wouldn't have mattered,
Yeah. But I also think like sometimes the label you're associated with comes with the bands that are also on the label. And like at that time, you got As Tall as Lions, you got Kevin Devine, you got the Receiving End of Sirens, like all of these bands that do seem like they fit better with like the morning of. Like you could have done a Triple Crown Records tour in 2009 with some of those bands that I just labeled, and that would have been like all over Absolute Punk and all that shit.
Right. I know that, but even at that time though, it felt like all of our bands were fucking up depending on like the way the genre was going, right? Like it felt like, and I granted, like As Tall as Lions, obviously they went on to have like one of the biggest producers of all time, Daniel Negreira's Olivia Rodrigo and Chappell Roan. And so like things like that, and Friday will say that, you know, he still picks up his call. But like I think things like that are like harder to quantify in that world of like, I felt like the bands like us, we were being made to feel smaller. You know, like when I say that story about us being on that Breathe Carolina, Every Avenue, Broken Side run, when Stray Light Run gets moved to like a smaller room, like we belonged on a tour with Stray Light Run, but the era that we were like actively like making records in, we were being pushed to smaller rooms, you know? So like for us as a band, unless we actively had like a real hit, I don't know if like it would have mattered, you know?
Okay. Yeah. And it's hard to say because, like, how many hits really came out of our world to begin with? Like, it was more of like a long-term album thing, right? Like, I think our fans in this scene were more album people, not really hit people.
Yeah,
Like,
well, I guess like hit, when I say hit, even like that, like the song from a scene, right? Like you think about like Best of Me wasn't like a radio hit initially, but now it's like a platinum record, you know,
mhm.
kind of thing. Like, you know, and so like, and that's one of the more popular ones, right? So like, I feel like we didn't have anything that's like, you're not going to go to an emo night and hear a Morning Of song and everyone's going to be like, okay, like that's like the emo song we listen to, you know, which is okay.
Touche.
I mean, we also didn't make music for that reason, right? Which I think the most rewarding thing about coming back now is like, if we are to make new music, we don't have to stress out about that. Like I felt like that I talk to Justin about this all the time. He's probably so annoyed about this, but the Format made this new album and it's like so good. If you have not listened to it, please listen to it. But like, it was like, it's this album where they're not trying to overtly write radio songs. They're just trying to write really good songs in a style that feels familiar, but more adult and stuff that relates to them right now. And I was like, if we're gonna make an album, like that's like what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna do something that feels like really good. It's not gonna be like this thing where we're trying too hard. We're gonna talk about like what's relevant, like all the stuff, and they have some political stuff in there. It's like it's really good stuff. And I think like to me, like that is like the sign of like they're like, hey, like this is how we're gonna come back, right? Like we're gonna like do something real and like yeah. And I find that very motivating. And my wife probably like needs me to stop listening to the Format because I talk about this every day. And she's like, I know you like text Justin, and I'm like, this is all I care about. I need to make an album. Like if we're gonna do it, it's gonna feel as good as this, or we're not gonna do it.
Some of the things that I have listened to, like today, I was listening to. I had no idea that Acceptance had redone Phantoms and added like a bunch of like
Hmm.
guest features, which I thought was really cool. I didn't even know they did that. I think like if we were ever gonna redo any songs, I don't think that's what we would do per se, but I think there's certain songs that I think of ours hold up really well. One of them being "The World as We Know It" song off of that album, where like I haven't listened to our music in I don't even know how long. It's been such a long time, and obviously with
You better
agreeing to
start.
do the show, there's been yeah, I was gonna say that I've been listening to a lot of Morning Of lately just to make sure I can still hit those notes and also remember the lyrics. And the Morning Of, not the Morning Of, The World as We Know It, I think that would be a fun song to re-record because of the way that the world is today, how relevant it was back then versus even today. I think it feels more relevant in terms of the lyrical like flow and structure of the song. Abir wrote that and did such a great job with it. But I think that that song in particular, like I listened to that song the most probably out of all the songs that we recorded in the recent times, just because of how much I like it. And I think if we were to do stuff in the future, it could be similar to that, but just like with a modern flair. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that there's, like you said, there weren't many hits that came out of our scene, but there were songs that were like instantly identifiable as certain bands, and I hope that that's one of the ones people remember us for. Even though it's not one of our most popular streaming songs, I think it's such a great song.
Yeah, it's hard to make, shuffle songs on, your top 5 or whatever on Spotify. Like sometimes those songs just kind of keep living in the the top 5. It's hard to shuffle it up.
Yeah, it seems like Shine has a life of its own for whatever reason. It's honestly like that song. There's 2 songs that the morning of wrote. I won't name the other one, but I can name Shine because I wrote it. But there's 2 songs the morning of wrote where I'm like, I have no idea how those songs ended up on albums, and Shine is one of them. And I
Can I
can't
guess the
believe
other one?
you can.
Fully.
No, I like Bully. No,
Yeah.
it's not Bully.
All right.
I'll text you and tell you what it is.
Okay.
I don't want to. I don't want to say it on. God forbid it's somebody's favorite song and I'm ruining it. But Shine, yeah, like
I guess it's okay
yeah,
because I wrote the other one, so it's like it's
yeah,
okay to say it. Yeah.
it's yeah. I mean, like that's one where again I'm shocked that it lives at the top of like our streaming services. We have such songs that, in my opinion, are such better songs. It's funny that that's the one people connected to.
Yeah, and it's just gonna keep living. Like as the show was announced, and as people are like, oh yeah, I used to love the morning of. Like they're gonna go back to Spotify, and most people are just gonna play the top track, and then it's just gonna keep getting that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
so it's not going anywhere. I'm sorry until you release like new music.
We got to get I Know You Know and Heaven and Hell to the top of those charts.
Yeah. 100%.
That might
Right.
be the only song, in my opinion, that's as good that the morning of wrote than Heaven or Hell. I Know You Know. Jessica, I can't wait to tell this story on stage. I used to tell it on stage every time we played it, but she did that whole song in one take in the studio, which is like, if you listen to it, she's belting, she's feeling it. Her, like, the vibrato in her voice is just flawless. It's in some weird guitar tuning that Rob came up with. The way the organ hits, the trumpet at the end, like that song, oh God, it's so freaking good. Especially now that I've been listening to it again, like I've been playing it on good speakers. It's just such a great song. I really can't wait to see her sing that.
Well, here, if any of the old street team morning of people are listening to this interview, you have a mission. And that is to get either like Heaven or Hell or one of the other tracks back up into the top 5 on Spotify. So just like start streaming like starting your streaming sessions at those tracks, move them up the list, and we'll get Shine off the top spot for you.
Good luck.
It's never gonna happen.
Good luck.
Amen. Well, guys, it was such a blast from the past chatting with you, and I'm so pumped that the show is doing really well, and seeing all the stories that you're sharing of all your fans like reconnecting with the band, not even having any connection to the band. I feel like super proud and like happy for you guys that you're getting this moment, and just enjoy it, right? Like enjoy every second of this, and I wish you all the best. I hope that the show sells out sooner rather than later, and you guys just get the itch after doing the show and you don't go away.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you guys for having us. It really means a
Absolutely.
lot.
Yeah, really appreciate it and excited. I'm assuming you're going to be there?
Well, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina now, so I might just cross my fingers
Wait
that
for
your second
wait
favorite
for the North
market.
Carolina show.
Yeah, that your second favorite market comes to life.
Well, if we don't get to see you, thank you so much for having us.
And if there's anything else we can do together, let us know. We'll figure it out, even if it's virtual with the show.
Amen. Well, keep in touch, and morning of to the moon.
All right, cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks
Have a
so
good night.
much. Have a great night.